Good day, everybody. It's Andrew here, and we have huge updates from Joe Manchin regarding the $1,400 stimulus check. And he also just said something about Social Security benefits, which is really, really important as well. So let's discuss the details. But before we jump into it, don't forget to like this video and subscribe. I also have a second channel, so do me a huge, huge favor. Click on the link that's in the comments of this video. Subscribe to my second channel. I'm going to be giving away a stimulus check on that one, just as a thank you for supporting my work. Okay, so huge news from Joe Manchin, and we're going to play a clip from Joe Manchin in just a minute. But first, let's recap what's happening right now. We have two stimulus packages that are trying to get done at the exact same time. The physical stimulus plan and the American Families Plan, aka the Build Back Better plan, which could include the $1,400 stimulus check. Well, Pelosi, basically top Democrats like Pelosi, President Biden, Chuck Schumer, they want the physical stimulus plan to be approved now. It's already been approved in the Senate, but now it needs to be approved in the House so both chambers can fully approve it. Well, progressives in the House, like AOC, have said they're not going to vote to approve that one until the stimulus check package is approved in the Senate first, because they want the guarantee that it's going to be approved in the Senate. That way, they know for sure it's going to get done, because the House is definitely going to approve the stimulus check package. The only worry is, will Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema approve the stimulus check package in the Senate first? So basically, they're using the physical stimulus package as leverage. Well, Joe Manchin just responded because Pelosi is planning to try and bring the physical stimulus plan to a vote again tomorrow, this Tuesday, but progressives have said they're not going to vote yes for that or even allow it to go to a vote until Joe Manchin approves the stimulus check package in the Senate. So basically, they're playing hardball with Joe Manchin, and they're saying, hey, approve the stimulus check package in the Senate, then we'll approve the physical stimulus plan. Well, Joe Manchin just responded. He held a press conference responding to that plan, and basically, bottom line here, he's trying to play hardball as well, and he's telling them, hey, I'm negotiating in good faith, and this plan is not going to work. Approve the physical stimulus plan, and then we're going to keep working on the stimulus check plan. Basically, he's calling their bluff, right? He's saying this tactic is not going to work, and he is going to take a little more time to negotiate the stimulus package to make sure he knows exactly how this is going to affect the economy. Now, if you're watching this video, you know how this is going to affect you. You need a stimulus check to help you live in a life of dignity. After paying into the Social Security system your entire life, this stimulus check is really just getting some of your tax money back, right? Let alone the fact that President Biden promised to permanently increase Social Security benefits. Well, Joe Manchin actually mentioned Social Security benefits as well, and the fact that funding to Social Security needs to be increased. So this is huge, because Joe Manchin is generally known for not wanting to spend more money, right? He's been not wanting to spend more money in the stimulus package. But if you look at the record, when it comes to Social Security, Joe Manchin actually supports expanding Social Security. If you go to ontheissues.org, which is a nonprofit, it's a nonpartisan, unbiased website, you see that Joe Manchin actually supports expanding Social Security. He supports expansion. Where it says no is he doesn't support the privatization, which I won't get into, but basically could potentially lead to lower benefits. It's kind of complicated. We'll talk about that in another video. But he supports expanding Social Security benefits. And in this conference, he kind of alluded to the fact that benefits need to be increased and we need more funding to Social Security to make sure that the Social Security Trust Fund stays solvent. So let's take a quick look. This is what Joe Manchin just said about Social Security benefits.
When vital programs like Social Security and Medicare face insolvency, and benefits could start being reduced as soon as 2026 in Medicare and 2033 in Social Security.
So Joe Manchin's stance is, hey, we have to fund Social Security. We have to fund Medicare. So he's worried that we're spending things on the stimulus package, whether it's stimulus checks, whether it's building roads and bridges and highways, sending monthly stimulus checks to families, which they're already doing. He's worried that all of these things are going to make it more difficult to fund Social Security and make sure the program stays solvent. And again, as you saw, he is actually in support of expanding Social Security benefits. So that's really, really good news, because that could mean that although he's making the stimulus package difficult, maybe he won't make expanding Social Security benefits difficult, right? If that kind of makes sense. The only person that could potentially stand in the way besides Joe Manchin would be Kyrsten Sinema. So, really good news for seniors, but as far as right now, Democrats are trying to get both stimulus packages done, the physical stimulus plan and the American Family Stimulus Plan. Now, progressives are trying to pressure Joe Manchin into approving the stimulus check package in the Senate in order for them progressives to then approve the physical stimulus plan, right? So they're using this as leverage, and Joe Manchin just held a press conference a couple of hours ago saying, guys, to him talking to progressives, you're playing political games. This is not going to work. He's urging them to approve the physical stimulus plan, saying that he will, in good faith, continue to negotiate on the stimulus check package, basically telling progressive Democrats, hey, guys, you got to trust me here, right? You got to trust me. We're going to get things done. But quite frankly, I don't blame progressives for not trusting Joe Manchin. I mean, let me know in the comments if you agree. But with that said, huge update from Joe Manchin, and let's quickly take a look, see exactly what he had to say, and let me know your thoughts in the comments below.
First of all, I want to thank you all for coming. And I've heard a lot of the mischaracterizations of my position since the president met with the House Democrats last Thursday, and I would like to make an attempt to clear up any confusion about where I stand on the legislation that's working its way through Congress. In all of my years of public service, and I've been around for a long time, I've never seen anything like this. The President of the United States has addressed the House Democratic Caucus twice recently to urge action on the bipartisan infrastructure bill, which sometimes we refer to as the BIF bill. Last week, Speaker Pelosi urged the importance of voting and passing the BIF bill before the President took the world stage overseas, and still no action. In my view, this is not how the United States Congress should operate, or in my view, has operated in the past. The political games have to stop. Twice now, the House has balked at the opportunity to send the BIF legislation to the President. As you've heard, there are some House Democrats who say they can't support this infrastructure package until they get my commitment on the reconciliation legislation. It is time to vote on the BIF bill, up or down, and then go home and explain to your constituents the decision you made. And I've always said, if I can't go home and explain it, I can't vote for it, and if I can, I will. I've worked in good faith for 3 months, for the past 3 months, with President Biden, Leader Schumer, Speaker Pelosi, and my colleagues on the reconciliation bill, and I will continue to do so. For the sake of the country, I urge the House to vote and pass the bipartisan infrastructure bill. Holding this bill hostage is not going to work in getting my support for reconciliation bill. Throughout the last 3 months, I've been straightforward about my concerns that I will not support a reconciliation package that expands social programs and irresponsibly adds to our $29 trillion in national debt that no one seems to really care about or even talk about. Nor will I support a package that risks hurting American families suffering from historic inflation. Simply put, I will not support a bill that is this consequential without thoroughly understanding the impact that it'll have on our national debt, our economy, and most importantly, all of our American people. Every elected representative needs to know what they are voting for and the impact it has, not only on their constituents, but the entire country. That is why we must allow time for complete transparency and analysis on the impact of changes to our tax code and energy and climate policies to ensure that our country is well positioned to remain the superpower of the world while we inspire the rest of the world towards a cleaner environment. And this all can be done. I, for one, won't support a multi-trillion-dollar bill without greater clarity about why Congress chooses to ignore the serious effects of inflation and debt that have on our economy and existing government programs. For example, how can I in good conscience vote for a bill that proposes massive expansion of social programs when vital programs like Social Security and Medicare face insolvency and benefits could start being reduced as soon as 2026 in Medicare and 2033 in Social Security? How does that make sense? And I don't think it does. Meanwhile, elected leaders continue to ignore exploding inflation, that our national debt continues to grow, and interest payments on the debt will start to rapidly increase when the Fed has to start raising interest rates to try to slow down this runaway inflation. With the factors in mind, and all of these factors that we've spoken about, I've worked in good faith for months with all of my colleagues to find a middle ground on a fiscally, and I repeat that, a fiscally responsible piece of legislation that fixes the flaws of the 2017 Trump tax bill that I thought was weighted far, far too far for the high-end earners and the needs of the American families and children. However, as more of the real details outline the basic framework are released, what I see are shell games, budget gimmicks that make the real cost of the so-called $1.75 trillion bill estimated to be almost twice that amount if the full time is run out, if you extended it permanently, and that we haven't even spoken about. This is a recipe for economic crisis. None of us should ever misrepresent to the American people what the real cost of legislation is. While I've worked hard to find a path to compromise, it's obvious compromise is not good enough for a lot of my colleagues in Congress. It's all or nothing, and their position doesn't seem to change unless we agree to everything. Enough is enough. It's time our elected leaders in Washington, all of us, stop playing games with the needs of the American people and holding a critical infrastructure bill hostage. While there's opportunity in the reconciliation bill that we can all agree on, and we've been talking about this for months. Again, to be clear, I will not support the reconciliation legislation without knowing how the bill will impact our debt and our economy and our country, and we won't know that until we work through the text. For the sake of our country, I am urging all of my colleagues in the House to vote and pass the bipartisan infrastructure bill. It's bipartisan, 69 votes. We worked on that for many, many months. As I've said before, holding that bill hostage is not going to work to get my support of what you want. It's what we should all agree on and work through the process. I'm open to supporting a final bill that helps move our country forward, but I'm equally open to voting against a bill that hurts our country. And I've been very clear about that also. And most importantly, hurts every American. Let's work together, and I mean that. Let's all work together on getting a sensible reconciliation package, a package that really strengthens our nation and makes us better and leads the world. Thank you all. Let me say one thing. I'm not going to negotiate in public on this because I've been dealing in good faith, and I will continue to deal in good faith with all of my colleagues on both sides. It's time to pass the bill and quit playing games.
All right, that's Senator Manchin, of course, one of the crucial votes for the president's agenda. Let's bring in now CNN CNN anchor Wolf Blitzer, CNN's chief political analyst Gloria Borger, and CNN White House correspondent John Harwood. Wolf, what we just heard, I mean, how do you reconcile that from Senator Manchin with the narrative we've heard of they're just inches away? He still has plenty of questions and wants those answers before he gives his support.
They're not inches away. They're a long, long way away from a deal on the bigger package. He says vote on the bipartisan infrastructure package, get that out of the way. But as you know, there are a lot of progressive Democrats in the House of Representatives who say they're not going to vote for that bipartisan infrastructure package unless at the same time they can vote ahead on the so-called reconciliation package, the $1.75 trillion package that deals with all sorts of social issues and climate change and other important issues. And for all practical purposes, what Manchin just said, there is no deal. And unless the progressive Democrats decide to change their position, there's not going to be the bipartisan infrastructure package. Pramila Jayapal, who's the chair of the Progressive Caucus in the House of Representatives, has made it abundantly clear that of the 90 or so members of the Progressive Caucus, at least half will vote against it. And unless there are a lot of Republican members of the House of Representatives who are willing to vote for the bipartisan infrastructure package, it's unlikely to go ahead. It's unlikely to be passed. And Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker, has repeatedly said she's not going to bring any bill up for a vote unless she's guaranteed that the bill she wants will pass. That bipartisan infrastructure package, even even though it got 69 votes in the Senate, including 19 Republican senators, as well as the Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, that is unlikely to pass if the progressives hold firmly against it. So this is a major, major setback for the White House, a major setback in this effort to get this legislation passed, both pieces of legislation. And it's interesting, Victor, that it's coming as the President of the United States is here in Scotland, where I am, and he's trying to deal with the international community, the world leadership on this critically important issue of climate change. And this is clearly a setback for President Biden right now to hear that Senator Manchin says no deal.